because that's when Father James was wounded during that retreat. You see the ferocity of the retreat. It was a last-ditch effort by the Germans to try and win the war, and he was wounded during that retreat. Yeah, he was wounded. He was wounded, attending to the wounded as well himself. He was wounded in the legs and in the hands, and he was stretchered away then to a casualty clearing station in Haverex. He was there. While he was there, the family got a telegram to say he is badly wounded. The telegram said that he was so badly wounded that no visit, it wasn't possible to visit her. It said on the telegram, no visit possible. Have I that telegram yet? Yeah. That's the telegram from the War Office to Shine the Ballylappin. I got that from the War Office archives. They had a copy of the telegram on. Say that seriously wounded, leg and flank. Yeah. Visit not possible. But at that time he was in a casualty clearing station, so they wouldn't have been able to go near him because that was only just a couple of, maybe a mile or two from the front. He was there for a short while, and then he was transferred then. He was transferred then to the hospital in Boulogne, number 8 Red Cross Hospital in Boulogne. And this is the picture he had again in his effects. And I wonder, was she the nurse that had been writing to him earlier on? You know, that's, I just don't know who she is now, but that picture was in his effects. One next one, Sheila. This is the Red Cross Hospital in Boulogne where he was treated. And he was there like for about a fortnight, and he seemed to be recovering. And then we got the family got a telegram, to say that he had died on the 21st of April of his wounds. While he was in the hospital, the chief chaplain of the army wrote to the bishop in Scotland. My Lord Bishop, I read to report that Father J. Shine was badly wounded on the 9th while serving with his division. He had been evacuated to the base and is in hospital there where he was visited by the principal chaplain. He is reported to have been hit in several places, mostly in the legs, and though he is in a dangerous list, every hope for his recovery is entertained. I've been away on duty, but hope to see him on Wednesday next. He has done very good work in the division in which he has served throughout his period in France, close to 2 years. He would be a great loss. My sincere sympathy to your Lordship the Bishop, BLR, that's BLR is Rawlinson. Rawlinson was the chief chaplain of the British Army. At home in Ireland, that's in Gallyroe, our grandmother, Bridget Long, she had a dream that night to say she dreamt she dreamt about Father James being covered in blood, and she woke up her husband Ned to tell him of the dream you had. He said to her, think of something nice to be dreaming, not to be dreaming. Her dream was seems to have been right on it, because they got the next telegram they got was deeply regret Captain Reverend James Shine, attached to Middlesex Regiment, died of wounds April the 21st, and signed by the Army Council, expresses sympathy, Secretary of the War Office. So those telegrams, I got them, I have copies of them there now. I got them from Kew, the archive in Kew last year. You can see them there later on. Go on again, Sheila. Yeah, see, this is a tag that Rona gave me that had in Ballylappin, and you see the kind of a hole there. But the hole there was sort of a twine to tie it onto your toe. that's a tag for your death tag, like, you know. J. Shine, the Reverend, and you can't feel it very well there, but it says the time of death up there and all this, and it says late. I can't see it until close, then you might better see it better. But that's the tag, like, for the death tag, like that was on his leg when he died. And that came back from France with all his belongings afterwards. Go on, Sheila. Now this is a letter signed by Rawlinson, the chief chaplain, like, you know. And he's writing to the bishop again to say that I'm grieved to report that Reverend Father Shine died of wounds at hospital yesterday, about 5:15 p.m. Father W. Ryan attended him and was with him frequently during his last days. He is to be buried tomorrow in Boulogne at half past 1 p.m. I saw him.
I saw him personally on Wednesday night.
He was a good priest and
most devoted chaplain.
Yeah, I can't read the statement. Yeah,
most devoted chaplain, and his loss will be greatly felt. Yeah,
that's signed by Rawlinson. Rawlinson was actually turned out to be a very famous chaplain. He was the head chaplain of the British Army afterwards. He spent time in India and all. And when I went to Bath to the conference, the main part of the conference was about Rawlinson. It was all about him because he was the chief chaplain, like, you know. Okay, Sheila. That's the death notice again from the British Army. Recorded, that's just recorded among themselves. Again, that's one of the documents that came from Kew as well. Yeah, he's buried now in Boulogne. And funny enough, even though the grave now is flat down, we were able to identify that the grave was actually the same place as that cross was, because when you looked at the landscape behind, you know, to kind of compare it to what the landscape was looking from the current grave, like, you know, it's still the same. So there's no doubt about it. That cross was put on the grave where he was buried, and that's the grave he's still in. As well as being recorded in Kew and things like that, the Diocese of Waterford and Lismore had a booklet called the Catholic Record, and in 1918 they also had records of Father James's death. It says here, at the moment of going to press, we learn with deep regret that Reverend J. Shine died on the 21st of August from wounds received in the recent fighting in France. Father Shine was a native of the parish of Ballylouby and was ordained in the cathedral nearly 8 years ago. He has been serving in the temporary mission in Dundee when early in the war he volunteered as an army chaplain. Father Shine's death follows us so soon after Father Luby, that Father Luby was a priest in Care. It's suggesting that a self-sacrificing and indeed heroic part played by those of our young priests who volunteered to be chaplains at the front. And the Catholic Record has 3 other references to Father James as well. Now it's interesting that when Father James the Mass was celebrated in St. Nicholas' Church in Boulogne, and the principal conservatives of the Mass were Father Lane Fox. Father Lane Fox was a very unusual priest in that he was also a chaplain, but Father Lane Fox had one of his hands blown off and his eye blown off in an accident that happened. He was out on the training course with Colonel Fitzgerald, and Colonel Fitzgerald gave him a hand grenade. He said, pull the pin and throw it. And Father Lane Fox pulled the pin, but just as he pulled it, the hand grenade flew up in his hand and it killed Desmond Fitzgerald as well. But Father Lane Fox survived. He also, after the war, he got special awards from the French government as well. Also, there was a high mass for Father James in Boulogne, and to celebrate by Father Lane Fox and Father Healy. Subdeacon was in choir was Father Rawlinson, Princeton Chaplain, Father Keane, Father MacDonald, Father Frail, Father Luke, Father Ahern. Most of these priests were of the Benedictine order. So that's how, again, that's why the conference that we were at last year was in Bath again, because it was organised by the Benedictines anyway. So Father James anyway was buried in Boulogne Cemetery, plot 7, row E, grade 40, that's where he is now. He was awarded the British War Medal and the Victory Medal, and his name was inscribed in the War Memorial in Cahir. Reverend, yeah. Again, that's St. Nicholas's Church in Boulogne, where the mass was said for his death. Go on again, yeah. And that's his grave now, as it is today in Boulogne. Okay. Again, that's the graveyard. And I see that all the graves are all flat now. That's him here now. Yeah. Now this is, I just said I put this in, this is his checkbook. I always say we were able to follow a lot of things from his checkbook and his paybook. It says there, this is, he paid £5 to a student, I don't know yet, but it was for camp kit, for his kit before he went on to the war. Then he got money for his holidays. He paid for his lodgings. He paid his hunt for a lodging as well. And he paid there again lodging, £2. Then he went on a trip to Scotland. He paid Monsignor, he got a cheque from Monsignor Root, but he also paid him some money. Now this is where Bully Le Monde, that's where Ronan thought there was a mines, that he had invested in mines. That's the name of a place in the song. And he withdrew 125 francs, which is equivalent to £5 at the time. Mary O'Donoghue, he paid her £1 for a photograph. And funny enough, Mayor Donohoe turns up again afterwards in his effects, because it appears that she looked after his affairs afterwards. Drawn at Lisbrin, that's another place on the song as well, 125 francs again, £5. He drew another £5 there. Now he got money from the field cashier. When you were out on the field, you got paid, you know, if you would draw down some money. So he drew money from the field cashier. Oh, it's always 125 francs, a fiver. He must be drinking or something. Again, he was Sally Lorette there, and Sally Lorette was one was where the English had driven the Germans back in 1917, and here he was in Sally Lorette. He was in Finns again, the same place where the Germans had been driven back again. He went on holidays, he took £12 out of his holidays there. That's probably when he came to Ireland. He got money from the field cashier as well. And then, he said, I don't understand this one now. He has Thomas Prendergast for pony, £20. So who's Thomas Prendergast that they bought a pony on? I say that's at home, I say, what's at home, you know? And that's the field cashier again. So like, the checkbook gave a whole idea of where he was during that period. Otherwise, we have no diaries, or we haven't done anything, but we have the checkbook that shows it there. Go on here. Now, that's St. Joseph's in Lockheed, and after the war, they built the War Memorial outside the church, and it has all the names of all the men from the parish, hundreds of men in the parish who were killed during the war. And top of the list is James Shine. He's very top of the list. And at the conference in Bath, there was a man from Dundee. He came to talk directly about Father James's effect on the Catholics of Dundee. And he gave a talk about it because Dundee at that time had a large Irish contingent of people in Dundee. And Father James was beloved of the people, so that when they put up the monument to the First World War, he was on top of the list, James Stein. What do I next here? Oh yeah, the monument was blessed in 1924, and the man who blessed it was the man here with the hat. And that's Archbishop Thomas Shine. At that time he was a bishop, and he's actually a first cousin of Father James. He was the bishop of Middlesbrough at the time, and he came up to Dundee to officially open and bless the monument to Father James. Okay, Kira? No, that's the, oh yeah, the Michael Jackson. That's the monument here. But anyway, after when Father James, when the war was over then, The family were notified of his death, and whatever material was left behind was sent home. His next of kin was given as his father, Thomas Shine, and they wrote to Thomas Shine on the 21st of May to say that Father James was buried to go along peaceful ceremony. Also, as no will could be found in the War Office in London, because, funny enough, because at that time when people went to war, the first thing they got in their pack was a will, a blank will, and you had to fill in the will, so that if they were killed during the war, that the War Office knew what to do. But it seems Father James had no will for them, so it meant then that they took it that his father, Thomas Shine, then was the next of kin. And all his financial affairs were handled by that. Remember, you saw Mayo Donohoe there. She handled all his affairs. It appears to me that she was working for some solicitor's office in London, and she looked after his affairs. And it was lucky that she did, because all the money that was in the checkbook was with a company. What do I get in the slide the names down? Yeah, McGregor's Bank. It was in McGregor's Bank in London. And whatever few pounds he had, or whatever money, he had back money due to him from his service. And McGregor's Bank was the bank that looked after the pay of all the British Army officers. And in 1922, McGregor's Bank went bust. And all the British Army officers lost their money because McGregor's Bank was bust. There was a big furore in the House of Lords and the House of Commons about it. But as it happened, Father James had no money left in the bank because he was a clever Shine again. All the money, Mayo Donohoe had sorted out the affairs, and whatever money was due then was transferred to Thomas Shine, his father. Mayo Donohoe organised that. And she also organised that all his effects then were shipped home to Ballylaffin by a company called Cox and Company. And lots of the things here that I have on the table here are things that came in the shipping, stuff that came. Our grandfather, Ned Shine, he wanted to get Father James's surplices and his chalice. And he wrote to the War Office to know where had they got them. And they wrote then to the chaplains in France to say was there any sign of this. And the chaplains in France wrote back and said they couldn't find anything. And they said, remember, of course, that all happened. He was wounded and killed during the Great Retreat, and there was complete panic, and there was couldn't blame things were lost. People were just looking to get out of it. So they never found his surplice or his chalice or anything like that. All they did was they calculated how much pay was due to him up to the day he died, up to the hour he was killed, and whatever expenses and all the rest of it, and that they sent those back. And all that money came back then to Ballylaffin, and it came to a total of about £500, which I suppose was a lot of money at that time, So that money came back. Somebody they were telling me the other minute that a pony came back as well, but I know, do you know about that one? The horse coming back from France. Bourne said the horse came back anyway. But he seemed to know. I'd say if it came back to Bourne, what did I say? But as I say, like that was the story of Father James. And the war, as I say, when the war ended, things changed in Ireland. The whole country had changed. To be involved in the British Army was no longer a great force. I always remember in our house, in Old Kilmac, there was always this picture of Father James in the sixth room always. And my mother used to always talk about him very fondly about Father James, because she remembered him as a child. But other than that, we didn't know much about him. As I say, because when this Tom Johnson was doing the book, The Cross and the Sword, it was mentioned in the Hollywood that he was doing it. I wrote to Tom Johnson then at that stage, back in 1999, and I just told him who I was. And he then sent me back with every information he had, and he included Father James in the book. His death in the book here. this man here also was at the conference, and he was talking, and he was one of the principal speakers, and he was talking about Anglican chaplains during the war. As I say, like, that's more or less now what I have to say. I have stuff along there that I'd like if you'd all come and have a look and see what's there, and you know, and if there's anything that, any memories that stirs your head that somebody told you, oh, tell me, let me know, so we can finish the story properly, like, you know. So that's me. Of course.
If anybody would like to ask,
I'd like to say a few words of thanks to you for all your efforts.
John is going.
I know it's not good now, but I very much appreciate it. I'd just like to say thanks.
Thank you.
For all your efforts.
Ron, you said that he had a huge influence on the people in Dundee, the guy. What sort of an influence was that like?
Well, you see, the Irish Catholics in Dundee at the time, as the man said, were always looked down upon. They were, you know, they had no voice. But when they got a priest like him then, who was able to cross the divide, he was like, well, it wasn't because he was a shine, you know, he had a big head, and I'm like, you know. He was able to